not going to turn me in. He's just bluffing. He has nothing to gain. Murderers are just fools. If you stand up to them, they always crumble.
Doesn't matter. I ain't nowhere to.
Welcome back to Unbiased and Unbossed. I'm back here today with a discussion over the beauty standards or lack thereof for Black women. As someone who's nearing their 40s in a couple of years, I've noticed that the identity and the image of the Black woman has changed greatly to the point that now I have identity issues, and that's because we're not being represented as we once were, which is as we are. When I was growing up, I could see our image presented fairly well in magazines, television shows, and even movies. I could go to a beauty salon and it not be all about the wigs and weaves, but be able to point out hairstyles that featured some of my favorite celebrities and get that hairstyle, and it would be from braids to short haircuts to updos. We were just represented very well. Sadly, a lot has changed over the past 20 plus years. Black women, we have very limited good representations of Black women in the media. I think one of the best examples of a Black woman whose natural beauty is oftentimes displayed as the best out there for us is Janelle Monáe. She does a very good job of being versatile in her looks, meaning that she doesn't wear wigs and weaves all the time, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you do want to see that diversity out there because there are Black women who don't. She does a very good job of wearing her natural hair to the wigs and weaves, to braids. It's just very versatile. But outside of her and maybe a few others, the identity of Black women has greatly changed. In fact, I would say it's non-existent. And that's because today, the standard of beauty for Black women is a non-Black woman. What's being pushed down our throats and into our faces is that biracial is just as Black as a Black person who comes from a Black woman and a Black father. With that said, our representation is typically a biracial woman like Zendaya or a cultural appropriator such as Bad Baby who steals from Black culture and culturally appropriates it. She's basically a caricature of a Black woman. I'm going to show you what these content creators on TikTok had to say and come back with my final opinion.
Nobody really talks about in depth the impact of Eurocentric beauty standards on Black women. Research does show that Black women, especially Black young girls, do internalize the social constructs of Eurocentric beauty standards. We all know this exists, the lighter skin person with, longer hair is considered better. And if you're darker with short hair, it impacts your self-esteem. And I don't think we talk about enough our experiences as Black women. And I think it's important that we create a space for young Black girls to come and talk about these issues.
You're like, oh, I love natural hair. Da-da-da. I'm just like, no, you love a type of natural hair.
Let's
don't
be
lie.
real. There was this girl that made a TikTok and she was basically saying, at the end of the day, it's your money, it's your preference. You can spend it on what you want, how you want to look. But has the standard become a bit too unrealistic? So standard being lashes, weave, all this and that. It's for me because I love that. I can't lie. I've always been like this. Like, everyone that knows me, I've been that girl that's just into stuff like that. That girl. I've been into stuff like that. But I also know how being into stuff as that has actually played on my self-confidence and also played on my own insecurities, and also that there's this standard that I know that does well.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Like,
Yeah.
if you look a certain way, your hair's on a certain way,
Yep.
you have that look,
Yeah.
you attract what the mainstream society accepts.
Yeah.
I think the men have made a standard of beauty. Like,
Yeah, of
we just
course.
followed it. Like,
Absolutely.
if boys were loving the afro, the short hair, do you not think everyone would do it?
Yeah, absolutely. But the reality is, guys will be like, "Oh, I love natural hair." Da, da, da. I'm just like, no, you love a type of natural hair.
Let's
Don't
be
like,
real.
You don't like the 4C.
No.
You like the 3 Exotica.
Let's
you
be
like
real.
that.
Yeah.
That's what you like.
You like that.
Don't.
Yeah.
I feel like there's just so much politics, like, to even unpack it. Like, there's like, where would we even start and begin?
Kind of like a throwaway point, but the black girl beauty standard is meant to be impossible for black women to meet. From slim thick to light skin to skinny to curvy, it is made in a way where black women can never fit their own standards of beauty. And I think until we start examining why beauty and value of life are attached, we're not going to do anything about dismantling the beauty standards. Maybe some of us just need to be ugly. I'll start. We can just be ugly and live our lives without having our values attached to our exterior build.
This isn't a throwaway point. This is a very real thing that we can trace back to colonialism. A lot of things that we see today that are seen as sexual are not actually sexual things. During colonialism, European men just showed up and went, "We don't do that, and therefore you must be wrong," right? Like, colonizers would show up to Africa and see that the women were topless and didn't go, "Damn, it is hot as hell out here. We don't really need to be wearing a shirt." They went, "Boobies? She must be a slut." There are a lot of dance styles that we see now as promiscuous, but they're not. Some people look at like belly dancing and they think it's inherently sexual when it is not. We see time and time again during colonialism of Europeans seeing POC culture and either villainizing it or fetishizing it. And because it was colonialists who built a lot of our modern day systems and implemented a lot of ideas that we have today, this is why a lot of people growing up think that hula dancing is just something cute and quirky and don't acknowledge how it's very significant to the communities that it's from. Because growing up, we're taught that a lot of cultures are either a commodity or simply bad. This is also why tattoos are seen as unprofessional. Tattoos in multiple communities around the world are used for multiple different ways. This is why we see some hair as unprofessional. Colonialism is literally the reason why we see pants as a man's thing, right? So they're villainizing and fetishizing a lot of things that have to do with people's cultures. And a lot of things that had to do with people's cultures was also intertwined with their bodies. So if their culture is being fetishized and villainized, so are their bodies. This is why we see comments and ideas that were used on Sarah Bateman in Megan Thee Stallion's comment section. I'm gonna do a very, very brief rundown of who Sarah Bateman was. Her story is extremely triggering, so I'm going to keep it very, very minimal. Her name was Sarah Bartman, actually. She was a Southwestern African woman who was coerced to come back to Europe by like some British doctor bitch ass fucking and she toured around in different freak shows, and the whole shtick was she had big butt and big boobs. And whilst she wasn't technically an enslaved black woman, the treatment of people in freak shows, and even after she passed away, they kept desecrating her grave. They used her skeleton and sexual organs and put that on display in a museum in France. And they even made a casting of her body. A lot of women of color during like the 17th century were considered exotic when they weren't actually exotic. They just had a different physical makeup than European people. And you can still kind of see this whole thing of exoticism still happening now, because there are a lot of features that are not specific to one race or ethnic group, but they are seen more commonly in that community. Which is why, for me personally, I get really uncomfortable when people say they have a type and then describe a extremely fetishized version of a community of color. They're using the exact same ideas that ended up getting that community abused in the past and is still getting that community abused in the present. Which is why when that creator said that beauty standards for Black women are virtually unachievable, they weren't wrong. It's because the beauty standard for Black women is a fetish. The beauty standard for Asian women is a fetish. The beauty standard for indigenous people is a fetish. Because as we can see, I am not a big boob or big butt haver. But that doesn't mean that I'm not Black, because I don't fit into the fetishized version. Which is why not only AMAB people, but a lot of people of color growing up are extremely self-conscious about themselves because they don't fit into the beauty standard. I had a lot of struggle growing up with this, and so did my mom. Me and her are both non-big butt havers. We're not slim thick, we're just slim. So by the standards of a lot of people within the Black community, we weren't attractive. And by the standards of people who were going to fetishize us, we weren't attractive. But even though I fit into the Eurocentric beauty standard of being petite, I'm a little too dark. And even within the Black community, I'm still a bit too dark. So there's like layers of things that Black women and Black AFAB people have to do to prove not only that they're attractive, but also to prove their femininity. So Black women have to filter through fetishization, colorism, body shaming, as well as on top of that, having to prove their femininity. Because there's also a really big thing of not being able to recognize Black women as feminine and fragile and beautiful. In real life and online, I've had people tell me that I'm a trans woman, completely unprovoked, before I even came out as trans. And now that I'm out, people just assume that I'm a trans woman. Where's your evidence of that? I am AFAB. I am assigned female at birth, right? And I will walk around in like just a bra, or I will walk around in a bright frilly dress, and people will refer to me as sir. And no, this isn't me slandering trans women. Trans women are iconic. They've been very prominent in a lot of movements. What I am talking about is the fact that a lot of people cannot see femininity within Blackness. They can sexualize it, but they can't see femininity. So they see someone who acts and dresses and conducts themselves in a way that they would consider feminine, but they can't register feminine for Black people. So they just assume that they're trans. Somebody showed me like a post on Instagram that was like, oh, they're trying to implement things to keep trans people out of sports. And in the photo, it was a cis woman. It was a cis Black woman, assigned female at birth, identifies as a woman, not at all trans. But they use that as the photo. Why? Because they can't recognize femininity within Black people. The further proximity that a Black woman has to palm-coloredness, the less feminine they're going to be. Just look at celebrities. Let's wonder why Megan Thee Stallion is considered mannish and Doja Cat isn't. Let's consider why Lizzo is considered mannish, but Rihanna isn't. They're all Black women, right? But what could the difference be? Could it be that some of them are fairer skinned and fit into slim thick, and the others have darker skin and have fuller bodies? And before you come in the comment section saying, this isn't real, because I've never been through it, and I've never heard of this before, why don't you cash at me? I agree with the person who I'm stitching. Fuck beauty standards. Women of color need to stop trying to fit into the beauty standard, because it wasn't created for them, and the only beauty standard that women of color do have is a fetishized version of themselves. A lot of AFAB people already know that from a young age, girls are taught that their value is tied to their beauty, their vanity, which doesn't work for women of color because they don't fit into the beauty standard and they have to achieve a fetishized version of themselves. And I want us to start asking ourselves why. I'm not somebody who believes that if you wear makeup, you're subscribing to the patriarchy. That's not at all what I'm saying. If you want to look beautiful, do what needs to be done to make yourself feel beautiful. But we need to be wary of this idea that you can't be seen as anything other than perfect. I don't care that I film most of my TikToks wearing my pajamas and having my bonnet on. Why? Because I just don't. One, because I know there's a double standard. Masculine people, AMAB people, can wear do-rags and bandanas all they want. But an AFAB or a feminine presenting person wears a bonnet? Oh, good heavens. Like, I don't care if I look unprofessional. This is a TikTok. I don't care if people don't find me attractive. If people can't value what I'm saying because they don't find me attractive, they're simply on the wrong account. I understand wanting to be liked. I want to be liked because usually when people like you, they're nice to you. And I don't like it when people are mean to me. We need to start separating our vanity, our beauty, the way that we look from our self-worth. Somebody shouldn't only like you and only show you respect because they find you attractive. Outside of women, outside of AFAB people, all of us together need to separate somebody's worth from their physical looks.
A whole society has a thing where they only appreciate black women who got all that on. And I have a serious issue with that. And because of this, I would get used to the treatment that I receive when I have this shit on. And I would never want to go back to like my natural form. You understand what I mean? Because y'all do treat black, y'all ignore it. Let me tell you something. When you have your natural hair out as a black girl, it's like you're invisible and like.
Okay, shout out to that creator. I really just recently found her profile and I'm gonna link her because she's actually really funny. But she really be talking about like actual real, real life things that actually are good for convo. So let's talk about it. As you may or may not know, I mean, you can look at my Instagram or my previous TikToks. I am a season ticket holder of the Wig and Weave Committee. And I love it there, but I also love my natural hair and my just natural self. And I feel just as confident with my natural hair, However, I do want to touch on this because I feel like sometimes at least for me, when I am in a protective style for a long time, I do forget what I look like, without the stuff, even with like full glam makeup or whatever. But I think it took me a while to get to a place where without that stuff, I still feel like I still feel like the top pick. You feel me? I still feel like I'm still cute and I'm still gonna pull whatever I want to pull, because it's about how you carry yourself. But black women, do you feel this way? I just want to know why, because I think she's really, really onto something. Like, do we really kind of discern what type of attention we want? If you want attention, like, not everyone wants attention. Me, I like attention, so that's why I'm on TikTok making this. There's nothing wrong with liking attention. So anyway, how y'all feeling, girlies? Let me know. And that's a whole nother thing. Like, it's like a thing too. Like, you can't be girly or feminine if you don't wear your natural hair. And even like the black girl luxury movement and natural hair, like that's a thing. And I just kind of feel like, just do what you want. But then again, let's unpack, because I do feel like there are girlies out here that are truly afraid to be themselves, but they hide behind preference or I'm protecting my hair.
So I've been getting a lot of comments like this on my video, and I know they're all well-intentioned. So I'm Nigerian, and I've also lived in Egypt for a majority of my life. And also I know a lot of people, I have a lot of friends that live, in Nigeria and in Ghana and, different countries on the continent. With that, I don't think traveling will honestly change my perspective on beauty. I'm saying that because in Nigeria, 77% of women bleach their skin. A lot of women are currently dying on the operating tables trying to get BBLs, and a lot more women are getting surgery to change their features. To me, this just shows how prevalent and insidious the, Western beauty standards and even just white supremacy is as a whole. I honestly feel like no matter where I truly travel, I'll be told that, hey, this is the standard that we like. Yeah, I just feel like no matter where I travel, I'm going to be constantly told that this is what we think is beautiful. Now I'm prepared for that, and I'm just going to keep showing my authentic self and my personality. And yeah.
The best plan of action to dealing with this is speaking out, advocating for the image of Black women to be exactly that. The image and representation of Black women should be Black women, not biracial women such as Zendaya or cultural appropriators such as Bad Baby. By speaking out and advocating for our rightful representation, you will be combating the colonization of your image. And once that doesn't work, because it's going to take a bigger push, because people are financially benefiting off of your demise, it's going to require Black women boycotting not only these actresses and actors and singers, but also boycotting the people who financially give them these opportunities in order to diminish the significance that we have to our own culture, to our own image. Get in the comment section. Tell me what you thought about this video. Thanks for watching.